So with the S8 coming out at the end of the month, I thought I'd make a couple of videos on Samsung phones. This one being the S3 versus the S4 and another coming very soon. So before I get into this comparison, I need to mention that I'm comparing the models ending in 05. So the i9305 versus the S4, which is the i9505. So without further ado, my name is Ryan Thomas and this is my comparison of the S4 versus the S3 in 2017. So some standout issues for both of these are knocks, though most users wanting to change the OS don't actually have a problem getting past this. Also, because they're older phones, you may need to purchase new batteries for either one of these. Talking of the ages, the S3 and S4 are 4.5 and 4 years old respectively, and they will cost you anywhere from £30 to £100 for either. The reason for the rather huge price delta here is because it depends where you buy the phone and what condition you get them in. I would keep to the £100 mark for eBay refurbished and used prices for both of these phones, as buying brand new S3 and S4s would be a bit of a waste of money. In this price bracket, you can also find the iPhone 4S and 5 if you're lucky. Both of these devices reek signs of older Samsung Mobile, meaning that you get plastic pretty much everywhere, as well as removable backs and the age-old Samsung design layout with a physical home button, flanked by capacitive off-screen nav buttons that has only just been broken for the first time by the S8 and S8 Plus. The phones are of similar sizes and feel pretty good in the hand, and they are very curvy phones with slightly rounded backs, which I quite like. Neither of these devices feel like HTC Ones, Apple iPhone 5s, or even modern Samsung flagships, but I definitely appreciate the expansion, which I'll get onto a little later. If you want a full metal phone, I would buy an iPhone 5 in this price range, otherwise the S4 just feels slightly more refined than the S3. The screens are the reasons you will pick up either of these devices over their competition. Both are Super AMOLED displays, and so blacks and contrast are amazing. The differences are in size and resolution. The S3 packs a 4.8-inch 720p panel with a screen to body ratio of 66%, which means those bezels look pretty big on top and bottom. Also, the bezels are a little bit too rounded for my liking, and on the S4 then, well, that thing has a slightly larger 5-inch 1080p display with a noticeable screen to body ratio increase of 72%. This may not sound like much, but you do notice it, trust me. Bezels look smaller, even going from the grey S3 to the white S4, where white bezels seem to stand out more. The displays themselves are both great for watching videos, playing games and browsing social media, as they are both rather sharp for budget phones and have great Super AMOLED technology, which I adore, and it's my personal favourite technology for displays. And it gives you rich blacks and good contrast, in fact fantastic contrast, and the fact is that you're going to have to make those text elements a little bit bigger on the 720p display just to make up for that resolution change. So if you're able to, on the 1080p S4, you can actually turn the display settings down so that you can fit more on the screen and it won't look as bad because you've got that higher resolution. And the problem is they get light enough for outdoor use, but you probably don't want to do that because it's going to take a huge hit to the old batteries. The cameras on these devices are slightly different. Okay, scratch that, they're actually quite different. Let's start off with the S3. It features an 8 megapixel rear sensor and a lens aperture of f2.6, which is not great considering the tiny sensor, and low light performance is going to be very impacted here. It can shoot 1080p video at 30 fps, and I'll leave links to samples in the description. The camera is actually the same as the S2, strangely. I would say that pictures look meh, not a huge fan. The S4 is a real step up though, featuring a 13 megapixel sensor, so 5 megapixel increase, with the lens aperture of f2.2, which makes low light a little bit better than the f2.6 on the S3. Despite the smaller pixels and the same size sensor, the low light actually looks pretty good compared to the S3, and the video is still 1080p 30 fps, but looks better in my opinion. Again, links to samples in the description of this video. I prefer the look of these shots in terms of sharpness and clarity, and you do get that slightly milkier background with the f2.2 aperture. The secondary cameras are a tad different. The 1.9 megapixel camera on the S3 records front-facing video at 720p 30 fps, whereas the 2 megapixel camera on the S4 shoots 1080p video at 30 fps. There's also a difference in aperture, as the S3's is f2.6 and the S4's is f2.4, meaning the low light should be slightly better too. These aren't anywhere near the modern counterparts, and even modern front-facing cameras aren't that great nowadays, but you do definitely get a sharpness increase slightly with the S4, and you do get that better video. The performance specs of these phones are quite different, as the S3 is running an in-house Exynos 4412 quad-core chip running at 1.4 GHz and 2 GB of RAM, one of the lucky phones apparently. Along with this, the only storage option is actually 16 GB, but you do get expandable storage, which is great. This is perfectly capable of doing your average smartphone-y things. However, you won't be playing the high-end 3D titles at any smooth frame rates without any kind of lag or heat problems, which I tend to have when using the phone. With the S4, you're actually having a Snapdragon 600 with 2GB of RAM, which is still pretty good, same amount of RAM, but a pretty powerful chip. It too is a quad-core chip, but clocked at 1.9 GHz, and this time available in 16, 32 and 64 GB configs with expandable storage as well, which is pretty convenient. It's a big one up from the S3. Bit of a performance bump this time, and the ability to play the same games at higher frame rates and slightly more demanding titles, but not without some stuttering. Both of these devices cope well with stock software, and that's what I've got on both of them. Talking of software, like I said, it's stock. They both came with Jelly Bean, but the S3 could be upgraded over the air to 4.4.4 KitKat, and the S4 can be upgraded to 5.0 Lollipop. Mine has never got that upgrade from 4.4.2 KitKat up to Lollipop on my S4. My girlfriend Katie's phone actually did go, but I believe it's a different model. A question for you all now. Would you like to see me make a video on custom S4 software? I do have an S4, I have an LG G2 which isn't quite in the greatest condition, but I am able to put custom software, so would you like to see me do kind of ROM reviews or something like that? Let me know in the comments and drop a fat like, and if we manage 250 likes, which is pretty much impossible for my channel, but if we hit that, then I will give it a go. I actually can't believe I just set a like goal. Jesus Christ. TouchWiz does look dated on both of these devices, but like I said, Katie's S4, which is on Lollipop, actually looks pretty close to that of the S6 on Lollipop. Pretty cool, but yeah, it's confusing with the different model numbers. It's genuinely just confusing. Battery life is neither of these flagship strong points, and neither is getting a day of full use. But with my super fancy S4 Anker 5200 mAh battery pack, which is kind of an extension, but it's still part of the phone, a full day is just fine. Not sponsored, but sure wouldn't mind if I was, Anker. Anyway, the stock batteries of these are 2100 and 2600 mAh for the S3 and S4 respectively, but both are removable and upgradable, which means you shouldn't have much bother extending the battery life without lugging an external battery bank around. It's actually pretty cool that you do have that expandability. The speakers on these devices are both rear facing, but are opposite ends of the phone. The S3's is at the top next to the camera, oddly, and the S4's is lower down where most rear facing speakers are. They of course aren't the most bass heavy, crispy and clear speakers ever, but they are there. The ports and expansion are as simple as you get. They're micro USB Type B connectors on both, which is a standard that is basically ubiquitous, and the headphone jacks you also get on both, so not really a problem there. You also do get micro SD expansion on both and removable batteries on both. Neither have fingerprint scanners, which is a bit of a pain, but you never were for this price, were you? Notable features are the Qi wireless charging on certain S4s out of the box, as well as coming in 8 colours whilst the S3 only came out in 2. As previously stated, the S3 has the same rear camera as the S2, so that's a bit weird. Overall, I would recommend the S4 over the S3 as you can buy them both for a very similar price, and you do get that much sharper display with less bezel. You also get a larger stock battery and much better camera, and much better performance too. And apparently they are good with some custom software too. Again, if you want to see that, you know what to do. Oh Jesus, this is embarrassing. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do like or dislike depending on your thoughts, and leave comments below. I'll also be making loads more videos thanks to YouTube's amazing AdSense algorithm change. Anyway, thanks for watching guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.